to Between the Spokes and Anovia Wheels podcast. I'm Gels.
I'm Sam.
And we're back with episode 4. And today we're going to be talking about the car scene, the state of the car scene, what's happened to it. Is it changing? Is it going anywhere?
Is it dead?
Or is it dead? Or is it going to be dead in the near future? We don't know, but we're going to speculate and talk a whole bunch of stuff. And just forewarning, there might be a bunch of shop noises going on. They're building like trucks and stuff back
big
there.
Truck stuff happening.
A lot of truck guys back there. They're like cutting frames off things. Like, I could never modify trucks because, like, cars, you just like, hey, here's a coilover, put it in. Trucks, it's like, no, you got to cut half your frame of like your $80,000 truck apart to raise it like 10 inches.
Is like you don't have to like lift it with the jack. You just slide under there easily, throw your jacks into, then lift it. Like,
all right, well, Sam's a truck guy, confirmed. We've been speculating that for a while. Now it's been officially confirmed. So before we go ahead and get into it, if you're looking for a new set of wheels, of course, don't forget to check us out at AnoviaWheels.com, or suspension, or tires, or literally anything else. Yeah. We pretty much got it all. You can check it out over at AnoviaWheels.com. Lightweight, deco directional wheels, and you can package tires. Makes it super easy. I'm gonna go put my wheels on tonight because
I got them. Tires on your wheels.
I did get tires on my wheels, so I'm gonna finally put them on tonight. I'm really excited.
That'll be good.
So Sam, I think, you know, like any good story starts, right, when you're talking to people, right? They talk about the good old days, right?
Yep.
The good old days of the car scene. You know, how did you get started with everything back then? And, you know, is it different from today?
So
like,
different.
I mean, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it was like Fast and Furious movies were a huge influence. And my first car where I was like, oh, I'm like in the scene, like.
How old were you when the Fast and Furious movies came out?
What was the first one? 2001?
I think it was 2001.
Josh, fact check. Do work. Josh. 2001. I'm pretty sure it was 2001.
Was that 99?
I'm pretty sure it was 2001.
I feel like it was in the 90s. I feel like it was like 99.
Josh is trying to figure out how to use a phone right now.
2001, June 26th.
Oh, 2001.
So you were 46.
Yeah, so I was 46. No, so I would have been like 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So very influential age.
I was 5.
I'm older than James. I know that. So you would have been about 12. So like, really influential age. So when it came out, though, I didn't see it in theaters. I didn't see it until it was out on DVD. And I remember, this is a funny story. I've never told anyone this.
Okay.
I was at Walmart, and I was 16, or 16 or 17. I had just got my license, and I went to Walmart. No. Sorry. I was way younger than that.
Story's falling apart.
Yeah. Sorry. I was with my mom, and we were at Walmart, and I wanted to like buy a movie because I bought a surround sound system. So
you had to buy a movie for your surround sound system?
Well, I was like, I want a new movie to experience my
surround
sound.
That makes sense.
And I was like, I want something like cool audio or whatever. I was like, oh, a car movie would be great. I was into cars.
Yeah.
And I picked up the Fast and Furious. Like, this looks cool, like cool car movie. It was tuner cars, and I thought tuner cars were super cool. Didn't like see much about it, so I was like, I'll buy this. And I went to the cash register, and I go to buy it, and the guy, at the cash register, he was like, my car club, and the forums that we're on, like this dates it.
Before Facebook, before anything else.
Yeah, he was like, this movie's so good. He's like, we watch this all the time at my car club. And I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know what a car club is. Like, what?
And where was this? What small town, Wisconsin?
This is in Marshfield, Wisconsin.
Oh, Marshfield. I know. Okay.
Yeah. So I bought it, went home, watched it, like, game over. Like, that was it. So, long story short, the first car that I got where I was like in the scene was my Integra. So I was like Ja Rule, about as cool as him, Monica, like all that. I was like, I wanted to modify it, so I did a couple things to it. And I don't know, I was in college at the time when I got it, and we'd have like really, Mel's meats were bad. Like, I
bet they were so dope at the time though. No. Like, yo, this is it. This is Fast and Furious. Like, this is.
I mean, we were broke college kids, so I had like an Integra. One of the guys had a Celica, but not a cool Celica. It was like the really rectangular, like angled Celica, like the last generation before they went out.
Oh, I like those.
I mean, they look okay, but it was I don't know.
All right.
It was a weird time, but
early 2000s.
Those meats were pretty like low tier, but I thought it was cool. But that's how I got started, and I remember guys would show up. This is so funny right now with 240s, and I was like, bro, like, what's this? Like, at the time, it was like Civics and like Honda stuff was what was really cool.
Yeah.
And the 240s, I was like, dude, this sucks. Get it out of here.
No, it was like some of the most sought after
Yeah,
cars.
it was really crazy. But that's kind of like,
I mean, I'd still go nuts over like a super clean, like older Civic too. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, I mean, there's some like seriously cool cars that would show up, but it was like parking lot meets. But we didn't have like social media to like Instagram to tell people. It was like what was cool though was like we just had a couple cars that would like be in a parking lot at like Taco Bell or like something like that, and like other cars would drive by and all of a sudden they'd come back with their friends, whatever, and like it was a very organic way of the meet like happening. But like we never really kept in touch because it wasn't social media.
Did you get like all like the magazines and stuff? Like,
No,
did you have all those?
I got Hot Rod magazines.
Okay.
I don't know. I was weird.
It was never like the import tuners,
No, I
like
never
all
got
those
the
other
import-
ones.
Like I got Super Street like a little bit later, but it was like Hot Rod. I was like really into the Hot Rod magazines, and probably caused me to buy a Mustang. That's the other car.
Oh God, it all makes sense now. Oh no.
That's what I really got in the scene with though, was my Mustang. Was when I had that, it came on lowering springs, had a bunch of good parts, had some kind of questionable wheels, but they were big. So
It made sense.
yeah, that's. What about you? What got you into the scene?
Yeah, so obviously a little bit younger, right? But I would still say that like the Fast and Furious movies, Need for Speed. I would say Need for Speed probably had more of an impact
Like
because
the games?
like the game, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that probably had more of an impact on me because it's like, I don't know, like I said, 2001, I was 5. I think
Wow, that's yep, sick.
I mean, like, I think the first Fast and Furious that I actually went and saw at the theater was either Too Fast or Furious or Tokyo Drift.
Too Fast and Furious was the first.
I remember
one
specifically seeing Tokyo Drift with my dad. And like we both loved it. We're like, that was so sick. We went and bought like the soundtrack for it.
Dude, the soundtrack
I
to Tokyo Drift is
specifically
really
remember having like the soundtrack CD, and we would play it like all the time. Like we like with my mom and my dad, we like had to run errands at the grocery store. And it's like, I want to, and I was like, this is so sick. My dad was jamming. Like it was so cool. No, I think it was kind of like I've always like enjoyed like watching the movies, playing the games. But like I would say it didn't really start until I was like in high school. Like at the age where I was like about like, yeah, I can get a car. It's like, hey, I can actually like do stuff to this car.
Yep.
And
it's not like this mythic like.
Yeah, it's like holy shit, I can
Because
actually
when you're a
modify.
kid, it seems like there's no way like this can be possible.
Exactly. So, you know, it was that, and I would say my cousin Kyle too. He was kind of like into cars a little bit. I would say like he had like an RSX, which I remember being like the coolest thing.
Dude,
I was
that's like a better Integra. Well, not better, but
it was like the new Integra. Yeah. So it was like I remember him having one of them. He had like a couple Miatas, and like he would cycle through a couple cars. But I was like, yo, it's like super cool. We go for rides in it. I was like, this is really cool. I like this a lot. And of course, like I started like modifying my Neon like in high school and stuff like that. And then I picked up a Eclipse. It was a '98 GS Eclipse. I think we talked about it a little bit, but it was like blown motors, 420A. I got it, rebuilt it, and that's kind of what really got me involved with everything. But Facebook was really the connection to everything because small town northern Wisconsin, there's not a car scene. It's not. It's, you know, if it is, it's like you and 2 other guys like going hanging out at Subway. That's like a literal actual thing. So
an import car scene. There's always in small town America like.
It was like the
Wisconsin,
80s Camaros, like, hey, my grandpa gave this to me, or I found it out in the back 40 kind of thing.
Yep.
I'm gonna throw up just a small block in it, call it a day. It's all primered up. I'm gonna put big cowl hood scoop on it and call it a day. I mean, yeah. So it was like really Facebook is what got it all started. And it was like, you know, connecting around Wisconsin. It was like Eau Claire. It was, you know, Wausau. It was like the bigger cities in a sense. Like, hey. And it was WCC. It was what Alex started. And, you know,
that's crazy.
That's why it is really crazy. It came full circle, you know, working here, and you know, we all work here now, kind of thing. So I would say, yeah, that was really what it started. It was thanks to the connections made in like social media and stuff like that to be able to find those people because where I'm from, there just wasn't those people.
You had to travel to that sort of stuff.
We did. Yeah, it was like me and Maggie would like plan a weekend. Like, hey, we're going to. I remember specifically. we were moving into my college dorm in Wausau. It was literally right next to Marathon Park in Wausau. WCDC was hosting like their first event. I was like moving stuff in, and we're like, hey, I'm gonna go take a break. and hop over because there's a lot of cool cars over here, and I want to go see what's going on. And like, yeah, it's just really crazy how it came like full circle. But I would say, yeah, it was all thanks to like Facebook, the groups, things like that. There were, it wasn't really forum based because.
Right. That's what
I could imagine.
They're so like.
I still get so I still get like the forum aspect of it because like when I was younger, before I got like really dove into cars, it was all about like RC stuff, and that stuff I would say
even still
that it's still massively forum based. Like you have like RC groups, like I remember Flying Giants specifically was a big one that I was a part of, and it was like that's how I got all my information and like stuff outside of there because I was like 8.
I think it was
could type.
Like teamintegra.net was the Integra one that.
I mean, I still remember like specific questions and stuff because I didn't want to be like the little 16-year-old like, how do I make my Eclipse faster? Like I would like go like I think it was like DSM tuners. Like you go on there, you get like shop parts, like the classifieds page, and look at like the sticky posts of like, hey, common questions that I know you're gonna ask. Just read this, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's gonna cost a lot of money to turbo my car. I should have just bought a GST or a GSX to begin with.
It's not just buying the turbo and then putting it on the car. Yeah.
So I mean. Getting started into it, obviously, kind of touching on that, like how was, coming in as like a new car enthusiast per se, like into the scene, like was it scary? Was it intimidating?
I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think any of us did.
At all. And I was like, I know what looks cool, but it was really hard for me to like have a vision and execute on it because I'd see all these other parts, or I'd learn like the cool thing was really expensive. Like if I wanted like a C West kit or whatever, I was like, okay, well that's not gonna happen. Like, what does eBay have? I don't know. It was very intimidating, and it wasn't really welcoming unless you met the right people. What about for you?
Yeah, I would say it was kind of the same. And of course, like social media just kind of like amplified that as well. Like coming into a Facebook group and like asking a question in front of, at the time just a couple thousand people, but now it's like 60,000 people.
Yeah.
Like even then it's just like, I'm gonna put this question out there. And of course, because it's, social media, people just be like, they're gonna throw their opinion out no matter what. I'm like, you idiot, like how do you not know this? And it's like, I've just started. Like I literally clearly don't know. That's why I'm asking. So I would say it was a healthy mix because the people running the page, they did a really good job of moderating it. Like, here are the rules. If you like don't follow the rules, Alex is literally gonna like beat you up, kick you out of the club, and you're banned for life. Like that was literally like kind of the thing. And so I would say it was moderated pretty well, but obviously you're still gonna have the people that, that hop in, give their opinion and everything. But for the most part, I would say like you said, you find the right people and the people that are like, yeah, I've been there, but now I know better. I've learned things. Like I was in that position. I can relate back to that. Here's your answer to your question kind of thing.
So I kind of talked about it a little bit. Like for me, it was like a lot of Honda stuff and like Civics, some Integras, and that was like the scene. Maybe it was the scene I was in at the time or whatever, like some Celicas. But what cars did you see? Being a little later.
That's a great question because like obviously like when I first jumped in, I was like, I know I want a second-gen Mitsubishi Eclipse because Fast and Furious, like the intro to Need for Speed Underground, like I'm like, I really like that car. And it was kind of surprising to like find out like when I first started going to like the meets and like the shows and stuff like that, I would say it was probably around like 2012, 2013, going into my final year of high school, 2014. When the FRS, like I remember like seeing like a group of like 3 FRSs at the time, and that was like a new car like at the time, and I was like, oh shit, like that's sick. Like these people got money, like, and then it was like the Genesis Coupe was up there, those were like the
350Zs and stuff.
Yeah, like that, yeah, 350Zs were pretty. Yeah, 350Zs were pretty high. Like even like the RSX at the time too was like. I specifically remember looking at those. Those were going for like 12, 15K still. Like they were still like pretty, high end. But yeah, I remember like the Genesis Coupe, FRS. What other cars were WRXs, of course, like WRXs, Evos, all over the place. I'd say those were like the top ones.
It was weird because when I was first getting into it, was before like the FRS, and a lot of those manufacturers started coming out with like the new versions of that stuff. So it was a lot of like legacy stuff, which I think is what made Hondas like so popular, because it was a huge aftermarket stuff was affordable.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was so much of it, and there were so many of those cars, because at the time, they were just like, oh, it's just my commuter. It's a Honda Civic. It's meant to get me to work.
From, like grandmas and grandpas that had them and babied them, and it was.
I remember that.
I bought it, and it was like $5,000, and it was like a deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of interesting to see that, because like when I really started to get involved, like those new platforms had like just come out.
Yeah.
And it was the Genesis Coupes, it was the FRSs, it was like the newer body style WRXs.
For me, I guess I'll put it in general. It was front wheel drive was the big thing in the show scene that like, or not show scene, the car scene that I was kind of like.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I guess it kind of switched to like, if real cars are rear wheel drive or all wheel drive. Like front wheel drive is just
huge, and I was kind of getting into
that's
it.
interesting.
Yeah,
because like you were saying, like the people that showed up with the 240s are like
Yeah, it was like and I don't know, it was such a weird, really weird time. But like, well, let's like fast forward to like kind of the present day, and like more of like COVID, like how that impacted it. Because for me, what I saw right away was, all right, all the shows and meets and stuff kind of stopped. It shut down.
I rember that it like hit hard. Like it was like no mass gatherings, no social contact.
Spring. So like right before.
Dude, that was so bad. I remember that winter being like so brutal too. Like we got like a ton of snow up here. Yeah, because like I guess to kind of put it in perspective, Wisconsin, like car scene is pretty limited. Right? Like we only get a few months out of the year.
There's like ice racing for like a week.
Yeah, and then everybody's like, all right, we had enough of this.
Yeah,
but
it's
like
cold.
Yeah, it's like we're pretty limited up here, so it's like we really look forward to spring.
Yeah.
And then like spring, summer, fall, we go super, super hard. And I remember it was like literally like, it was March. Yeah, it was March. And it was like starting to get warmer out. Like we just got like dumped on with snow. It was like super cold. We were getting like the polar vortex. It was like -30. Like, man, can't wait for car season to get here. Yeah. I just want to get my car out, go cruising. Salt's gonna be off the roads.
Yep.
And then it was like, just kidding. Your whole like next 2 years are just absolutely screwed.
Dude, this summer before that happened, my road at my house was getting worked on, and I couldn't like drive my cars because there was like a 4-foot drop off. And then COVID happened, and I couldn't like track anything. And I remember those like, this sucks. I can't go use my car. And when I saw those people that were into like the show or stance scene, all of a sudden all we could do was drive our cars. Like that was the escape from the house, is you could drive your car or make going to like the grocery store like an event. Because once you're at the grocery store, it sucks. Because you're like a mask and like you're in your hazmat suit.
Yeah, that's true. Because I remember like hopping the FRS, and it was like, oh, thank God I didn't go like drive somewhere. It's like I have a reason to go somewhere, and like I can go somewhere. And it's like, I'm just not driving as much anymore. It was literally like filming videos in front of the car, because we were filming videos for like Fitment Industries, and it was like, oh yeah, here's my car. It hasn't moved in 2 weeks because I haven't had to go anywhere. Like
the thing though, like that I really saw people push to was using their stuff. Yes. So if it was a car, it was driving it, and then like how to make driving it more fun. I saw a lot of people that I was friends with that were like strictly stance show scene to be more of like, I want an intake, or like I want some performance oriented stuff is what I saw things move to a little bit. And that's like, at the time, too, people were stuck in their garages, and like some YouTube channels were like just doing like dumb horsepower builds, like crazy horsepower. Like this will get attention. Like this is what we can.
Well, do. They're like, oh, I'm not gonna use it. I might as well just tear it apart and see what I can do. So that was really an interesting aspect of it too. It was like seeing how many people, went to that route of like, hey, I'm cooped up in my house. I have my car. I'm working on it. What if I just started recording and like doing YouTube videos and stuff? And I think we saw a lot of like good creators come out of that. And I like it because I prefer watching like YouTube and stuff over like Netflix and things like that. So seeing like new creators and fresh faces to that kind of stuff, I absolutely love it. If you're out there and you're like just starting YouTube or like thinking about doing it, don't listen to like the negative, like, oh, everyone just starts YouTube because they want to be like, TJ Hunt, they want to be all like the next people. It's like, do what you want to do, man. I'm for it. Like, I love seeing that kind of stuff. Do it because you want to do it, because you enjoy working on your cars. You want to show like what you're doing. Don't. They always say like, oh, don't do it for the money. It's like
also all the people doing like who've done like 2 YouTube videos, and one of them's like, how to change spark plugs in a Ford 4.6 liter. It's like, whoever uploaded that video, you are like the real MVP. Like, that blows my mind. Like, who recorded themselves doing this?
Yeah.
But like,
but it's got 3 million views because everyone needs to know.
Yeah, so I watched those. It was, I don't know, it was weird because like people started using their stuff. But then like on the flip side to it, all of a sudden, like because of COVID, parts were just like gone.
Oh,
it was
dude,
like
don't.
We couldn't get parts, and like, and we saw it too with like for a big period of time, like coilovers were just like impossible.
As you know, Fibbin Industries and Anovia, we saw that a ton. We were trying to make our own wheels at the time, and factories like we have no metal.
Yeah.
We can't ship things, or like the ports are backed up, or there's no tires anymore, or I remember, dude, that was such a nightmare. Like, marketing wise, like trying to. I remember getting messages daily from like Alex and Mario hopping on phone calls. It's like, hey, we need to make a video on this now. Like, can you go record this? I'm like, yeah, I got my studio set up in my garage. I'll go film it.
Yeah.
And like it was reacting to everything because it just became so chaotic. And then like stimulus checks came through. We had to shut down the warehouse because like we couldn't keep up with the orders because everyone just had a ton of money all of a sudden. Yeah. And we're like, oh my God. We went from like everyone went to panic mode of like we're not buying anything to like, oh shit, we have $1,200. Let's go buy everything.
Yeah.
And dude, keeping up with that was a nightmare.
COVID was just weird.
And it still has those effects. Like you said, we're seeing like everyone bought everything. Suppliers couldn't, or like, manufacturers couldn't keep up. They're still trying to catch up to those orders from COVID, and there's nothing available. Prices are going up. Parts are getting more expensive, harder to get a hold of. You're typical waiting 3 months for stuff to show up now.
We went from like being able to pretty much buy whatever you want as long as you just find the internet to like buy what you can when you can.
Literally.
And like it changed the course of some people's builds and like what you could do because it was like, man, I wanted to do this. Now it's just like not available. Or some of the smaller shops that were doing like specialty like wide body kits or whatever just like shut down.
Yeah, just like we can't.
Yeah. So current state. Let's talk about that.
Current state of the car scene?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
What do you think about the car scene right now?
Car scene right now?
This is a really interesting topic because
since
you and I both started, even though you're like 2 when like you started the car scene, social media has changed everything.
Yeah, I would say it's not even like, oh yeah, like the age gap is there. It's more like, no, in like the last 3 years, like it's been pretty wild.
Dude, TikTok messed stuff up.
Dude, so okay, I'm trying to.
No, unfiltered. Let's go. Like
I know, I'm trying to like just get it like out like what my thoughts are. It's tough because, oh God, how do I put this? Literally, when we were like, this is the topic we're gonna talk about. I'm like, oh my God, this is a hot topic. It's like how is the car scene doing? Because you ask anybody, and you're gonna get 3,000 different answers.
Yep.
My personal opinion, I think it's just fine.
Yeah.
I think there's, the main argument right now, and what I've seen, you look at things like TikTok, you look at things like Instagram, those are what people turn to in the last 3 years when COVID did happen to be like, here's how I can. It was an outlet. It was like, I'm just gonna go make videos, and if it wasn't YouTube, it was TikTok. It was like, how can I? People were seeing the success that people had on these like platforms and like overnight success, and it's like, I want a part of that. I want a part of that like fame. I want a part of that money, and people saw, that with the car scene too. Like people who were into cars, like, oh well, I'm gonna make videos about my cars, and people were blowing up on TikTok with like doing stuff with their cars, and some people saw they're like, well, I don't really have a hobby, or I don't really have anything really cool that I can share, but cars seem cool, and that's how they got involved in it. And a lot of people have taken that into the fact that it was, or kind of taking it, look at it as like, oh well, they're just using it because it's a trend. Yeah. Being a car guy or being a car enthusiast has become a trend.
It's cool. Wait, Mike's over here. It's cool.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, but at the same time, it's like if they're really invested into it, and like this is like the first time they're experiencing it, like who are we to just be like, we're going to be the grumpy old guys and be like, get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, but it's like, when we talk back, like when we were getting involved, and it's like those people that had pushback, it's like, why are you asking dumb questions? It's like, that's how I look at it. I'm like,
well, we could be gatekeepers really easy.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's the weird thing with like how persuasive, like, that's not the right word. How social media has like, I won't say infected, but affected everything. It's like, someone could blow up, and it's very easy to be like, that's a rep kit, or
Yeah.
like those are rep wheels, or
Yeah.
whatever. But like,
And it's crazy how people latch onto those opinions.
yeah,
It's like it's like, oh well, that comment's got 3,000 likes. That must be the fact that I'm
that's the
going to
truth.
base on. Yeah,
Like,
that's the
all of a
source
sudden
of truth.
likes became
The source of truth.
the source of truth. And there's a lot of dumb people. Like, people like me, big dumb, like out on social media.
I will never. The whole rim versus wheel debate literally started because of a TikTok, and I remember seeing that TikTok.
Yeah,
I'm like, that is absolutely incorrect. But he came at it, and he was like, he was very confident about it.
Yep.
People had never talked about that topic before. It blew up, so everyone was literally like, oh no, when a rim plus a tire is a wheel, because that's what that guy said. And I'm just like, no. No. And I remember it's like some Chevy dealership that the guy made it, and he still makes TikToks. And I imagine you're a nice person, but I don't like what you did.
Let's get him on the podcast.
I'd love to talk to him. That'd be a fun debate. That would be a really fun debate.
We probably like hurt him, but
He seems like a nice guy. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
you heard it here, folks.
I mean, he sells Chevys, so.
I don't know, the thing to me, like being old, is like it's just too easy to get misinformed on.
Oh, it's so easy.
On stuff, or like what to do, or like you'll see things like building a 240SX in 10 minutes, and it's very easy for people to get the understanding of like, oh, I could do that, and then they buy a car and they're like, oh my gosh, they repinned all these connectors to put this ECU in, or
like the actual stuff that goes behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good that's a good point too. It's like, obviously people are gonna more than likely post the success that they have, and it's like almost become like a competition.
Their best selves that
yeah,
are, like,
and
out
it's
there.
almost become like a competition against each other. It's like, who can do the craziest build? Who can do all this like wild stuff? Who's gonna do the next crazy thing that's never been done before? It's like almost like your BRZ build that you just got an exhaust for doesn't even matter, because people are like, well, you're not like turbocharging it. It doesn't make like 1,000 horsepower or swapping a 2J into it. So like, why would I care?
Well, and the thing that I saw too
crazy.
is like some of the YouTubers, because I'm the same way. I'd rather watch YouTube than Netflix. Is some of the guys that I'd watch were like they were first starting out and they're doing simple modifications, doing more stuff than using their cars over. Now it's like I gotta do the craziest thing, or I don't get views, or I gotta buy like the craziest X or most expensive Y, or like my audience won't follow me. And it's just like, it's not true. So now like so many of these channels are just like, I don't even want to watch it anymore, because it's like just kind of dumb.
I mean, yeah, it's like you said. I think we were kind of talking about this earlier, coming up with like some notes on it. It's like it's a hype thing.
Yeah.
It's like who can build the most hype right now, and that's I think where a lot of people are looking at it like, oh my God, it's just a trend. It's just people trying to get views and money and like fame for this kind of stuff. And it's like, in a sense, yes, like there are, you can see that in a way, but there are still a lot of like passionate enthusiasts who have been around a long time, or like who are just truly like interested in the hobby and like getting involved, but like this was their outlet to find out, and now they're asking about it. I think it's a good, healthy mix. I think it's really easy to focus on the negative of it. I think it's really easy to just go shit on someone's day and be like, you don't know what you're talking about, or like that fitment sucks, or your wheel sucks, or like your choice of things are bad. Like, it's super easy to do that. But at the same time, it's like, it's never really been different, right?
Forums are horrible.
Yeah, forums were awful.
You got destroyed.
You were hoping that a moderator would just kind of hop in now. Now it's like all automated like AI things being like, that was a bad word. We're probably going to remove that. Like, it's just that it's so much more visual now. It's so much more accessible. Like, like car TikToks are coming up on everyone's For You page. Like, so everyone's just so much more aware of it, I think, is what it really comes down to.
And there's a lot of good stuff that has like came about it too. Like,
and I guess kind of going off that too, it's like how that actually impacts, like when I go to a car show now, or like car meet now, it's like you see the trends.
Yes.
You see the broken heart stickers. You see like the sad boy trend. But then it's like, then you see like, okay, the next thing that people are going to hyper focus on is like, who's going to have like the craziest trunk setup, right?
Yeah.
Like who's going to have like the craziest like airlift setup in their car, or like who's going to get the most camber, or mirror tint. You see mirror tint everywhere last year, like color tint coming back. It's like it's cool in a way to see that, but then it's like you also relate it back to like, oh my God, it's because of social media.
Yeah.
It's because that guy blew up on TikTok and he wanted to do it, and now everyone else wants to do it.
But
that's not a bad thing, right? It's just like
it's not bad.
It becomes it can become, I should say, unoriginal. People aren't doing it for themselves. They aren't building cars to express themselves anymore. They're building cars to get views and appease others.
And they're like the other. I've seen it kind of stop some originality from happening because
absolutely.
But
it's also driven a lot of originality for those who don't want to fall into that category too.
At least in the show scene, from what I've seen, is it's really pushed a lot of you're either doing the cool thing or you're doing something crazy enough that we'll accept it. But there's no middle ground of someone trying to do something kind of unique. And the thing that I just don't understand are engine swaps. Like, it's like everyone has to swap everything into everything.
That is true. I have seen some pretty wild engine swaps that I'm just like, oh my God.
Like, chill. It's okay to have like the engine that came in your car Like, I don't know why someone's like, all right, I got this and it's got this. It's out right away and there's a 2JZ in there. And it's like, is it a status symbol because 2Js are expensive or whatever? I'm like, just chill. Like, damn. Yeah. It's like you have a KA in your car. It's fine.
I thought it was super eye-opening too, right? Because I remember the similar thing kind of happened in like Miata crowd. Everyone had Miatas. Everyone was modifying Miatas. It was kind of like a stigma of like, oh, all Miata builds are the same. So then everyone just started trying to outdo each other. It's like, I'm gonna do this. And then it was like, oh my God, they were like LS swapped all-wheel drive Miatas, like
lifted,
all the
rally,
like it was just off the wall.
Dude, and then it became
builds.
Who could have the saddest Miata?
You know what has replaced that? FRSs and BRZs.
FRSs.
We went to Slam Dunk Gatlinburg this year. I think in the FRS BRZ category there was like 60 cars in that category alone.
Well, it's because look at the price point Miatas all of a sudden became a little bit more expensive than what you could get like a cheap FRS for. And I'm like, well, why would I buy a Miata when I can get
a new car? Yeah. And it's like, and you look at that group of cars and just absolutely like, those were the cars that stood out like, holy shit, like what is going on with that? Like that's wild. I've never seen it, but because it's so big and they're all trying to outdo each other.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. The other side of it too is like the people going to the track and like using them. Because we talk about like shows a lot. But
right. There's a lot of different
there's a lot
avenues
of
stuff. Yeah.
And where the bar was a couple years ago for performance is raised, I think, of like what people have been able to achieve, and like it's been really crazy.
That's crazy too. I remember when like 300 horsepower was like bragging rights. I remember specifically like the 500 horsepower club was like a Facebook group, or it was like, I think it was like a classified thing. It was like 500 HP plus for sale, buy, sell, trade kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
And it was like a big deal. Like those posts would get so many likes, they get shared all over. Now it's like, if you don't have 1,200 horsepower and you're super, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
like
2Js
Jesus.
horsepower.
Like, it just keeps getting crazier and crazier.
I think the other thing too is what I've seen being kind of older is the perception of what people think they need to have to be cool or to have fun with is totally like not right. Like you can have a Civic with lowering springs and some cool wheels and some like summer tires and like
have an absolute blast.
That's super fun, but it's like, oh, I won't get the clout on social media or whatever, and it's like, I don't just do it for you, man. Like you don't need 500 horsepower to go drifting. Like it's such a weird thing that has like happened on social media.
I think, like I said, you can look at it whichever way you want. Like I said, I think it's really easy to look at it in a negative way. I think you can also look at it in a positive way. Look at the creativity it's inspired. Look at the originality that it has inspired for people that don't want to just fall into the same thing. You can look at that and be like, oh well, it's driven everything to just be hype and crazy, or it's driven creativity. It's like it really depends on which way you want to look at it. I think overall though, more exposure to the car scene, more things going on.
I think it's a good thing because honestly, like also,
you see new brands coming out of the woodworks like all the time. I mean,
tons of little aero companies.
Yeah, tons of little aero companies
really cool
like
stuff.
making body kits. Like here in the United States, it's like some guys like, hey, I learned how to work with like fiberglass over COVID, and I'm making body kits now, and they're actually like really good.
Yeah, one of my friends, he made his own over fenders for like the G35,
and that's super cool.
And no one was doing it, and he did it, and it's like, shout out to Steve, but like. It's super cool, like what he's doing, and it's like fun to follow that because it wouldn't have happened on the forum days, but now social media and like what can happen. I mean, it helps being a good person.
Yeah,
like
I think it's at the end. At the end of the day, when you look, it's like the people that are getting the most views and all this kind of stuff are like people who's like, oh yeah, I just went and bought the most expensive stuff possible. It's also awoken those builders, like the true builders, the people who are like, I'm going to make my own goddamn body kit. I'm going to make my own exhaust manifold. I want to build this like no one has ever done before, and I'm going to make it in my own shop, and I'm going to show you how I did it. Like, that's the stuff that I really enjoy that has been coming out of this.
What's driven some of that is our next question here. Why is everything so expensive?
Also that, because, it might just be cheaper to go build it on your own. And that is a great question, I think, too, because we kind of touched on it before, the impact of COVID. Yeah. Everyone had no money, then everyone had a lot of money, and then it's just fluctuating. Everyone bought everything out. There was no toilet paper. Then there was no intakes.
TP crisis.
And now there's no tires anymore, and it's just a constant cycle of, oh my God, what's going to go out next?
Yeah, it's like, everything's buying. I don't think that people are like hoarding some of this stuff, but there's also a lack of new enthusiast vehicles at like an okay price point.
Yes.
Like yesterday, I think the new Z is like, hey, it's actually $40K, not $30K.
Yeah.
Is like the MSRP. I'm sure dealers will mark that up like crazy. But there's not a lot out there, and what is out there now that it's cool. So not just because of COVID, but like now cars are kind of cool. So like we're cool guys.
Yeah. So everyone's trying to go get one. Yeah.
But that stuff got expensive.
Yeah.
So it's driving everything up, and like the right-hand drive market, it just got dumb. Like, really dumb.
Do you think it's kind of killed it in a sense?
To me, I used to get excited when I see a right-hand drive car. I was like, oh, like, that's sick. And now I still do if it's like done in a certain way. But I feel like the two things that kind of killed it were, one, the hype of like, you need right-hand drive to be cool, which is totally false. You don't need that at all. Yeah. And the second part is how expensive it got, where I'll see some cars, I'm like, that is not a $40,000 Toyota. Like, damn, like that's just...
I think that's really what kind of has done it in for me, right? When you look at like the JDM Legend cars, like the right-hand drive cars, like back in the day, it's like, when we were playing the video games, we were watching movies, like, damn, like when I'm 20, I'm gonna have that car. When I get like a full-time job, I'm gonna go buy that car because I can. Like,
dude, Too Fast, Too Furious, the intro scene. When Paul, that was the first Fast and Furious I saw in the theaters. When Paul Walker was like, "Yo, I'll be there in 5 minutes."
Yeah,
like,
hopped in an R34.
And the RB and all that. I was like, "That's the car I'm gonna get." And now they're gonna be legal here soon. And it's like $100,000. And it's like,
they become so unattainable for the average enthusiast like you and I to even go out and afford. And it's like, so. That's why the hype has kind of died for me. It's like, I just can't afford that anymore. Yeah. That is like...
It's like a Ferrari.
Yeah, it's like a Ferrari or Lamborghini. It's like, I'm not going to be able to grab that, so why should I care about it?
Yeah. It's tough, and
it's kind of sad.
The right-hand drive is expensive.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's really become like unattainable in my eyes unless like I get like some crazy like job or like am doing like YouTube like full-time, like, like... That's really what it's become, and I think the hype is still there for it, but like for a lot of people, it's really died down.
The parts are just like crazy expensive.
That too. It's like not even just the upfront cost about the car. Yeah,
like it blows my mind when it's like, I'm probably gonna rebuild an RB, and it's like I was looking at forged pistons and stuff, and I was like, I could buy another car. Yeah. Like, this is insane.
And like with that too, it's like it comes down to it's like, oh well, if you're putting aftermarket parts on that car, it better be the right parts, or you better not cheap out on those parts, otherwise you're gonna get roasted in the comments. And
I know. Oh, you gotta get authentic parts and all that.
Yep. And that's expensive.
I know. It's really kind of crazy what that did, because those cars were so cool. They still are cool in my opinion.
Oh,
but
they're
like,
super cool.
You look at where, like, what other cars are out there is like, I think people like, as like once those cars became illegal, that was like the focus of like, let's do that, and that kind of goes into what you're talking about next, is like any specific scene you think is taking over. And
Japanese scene.
Yeah,
100%.
for me, I see JDM stuff just like blowing up,
and like it's not even just cars. Yeah, it's like just in general, like Japanese everything. You see Japanese influence in literally everything.
Yeah, like I've seen more cars, like even USDM stuff or Euro stuff on TEs than ever within the last like year or so. Like I know it's kind of a meme now, but it's really crazy where that influence is taking over. There's also a lot of those cars available that people seem to buy. And what I've seen is with the JDM scene is the ability for people to take those builds in every sort of direction.
Yeah.
Where anything from like a really slammed, cambered out show car to a drag car to a drift car. Like I've just seen them like kind of be like infected in every sort of like motorsport or scene within the car culture.
I agree.
So you think too, like JDM stuff is started to kind of like.
I think so too. I mean, I think you still have a really underlying, I mean, I think it's all there, right? But it more comes down to like what's got the top right now, like what is getting the most attention. I would think it's JDM. I think Euro is a close second. I think honestly that a lot of like the older enthusiasts have gone more Euro. Like they've done the JDM,
like the classic Euro.
Yeah,
stuff.
like the classic. You're looking at your older Golfs. You're looking at like like your B5 generation of Audis.
M3s,
like your M3s, E36s, E46s. They're moving on to that. Like they've like, hey, I've done the JDM stuff. It's been super fun, been super cool. It's kind of like everywhere now. I kind of want to do something a little different. Gone over to the Euro side of things. I think there's still a huge USDM market. I think that is absolutely massive too. And then honestly, like KDM is popular as much as people love that. I mean, I think it's kind of pulling up the rear. I mean, it's just not as many options. Is literally what it comes down to.
They're like the KDM side is where the cars are coming in that fill the JDM gap of like. What the Kia Stinger is doing, like, is kind of a like really cool car for what it is. It's like, it's just not JDM or Euro or like USDM.
I see the Stinger taking a lot of people away from like a lot of hardcore muscle guys.
Yeah.
I see those people hopping into Stingers more than anything.
Well, and like on the US side, like look like the Challenger and the Charger and that whole platform is like everywhere.
Yep.
But you just don't see the like really interesting builds.
No,
that you
they
see
keep
from
it
the
simple.
other side.
They keep it simple for the most part.
Yeah.
That or it's like all crazy Captain America wrapped. It's like one or the other. It's like I don't know.
It's or like crazy horsepower.
It's like America, everything. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I don't know. It's cool though that we can have so many different scenes at the same time.
And it's great. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's like the nice thing though, like we're talking about social media has like downsides. The nice thing is like you can get exposed to all of these.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I thought like when I first was like, wow, drifting's kind of cool, and like trying to find like stuff from Japan. I was like, where do I go? And I was like downloading like videos on like LimeWire.
You're downloading drift videos on LimeWire?
What you'd find.
That's a little sus.
But like there wasn't anything in like English or whatever.
Right.
So like it was weird. And honestly, at that point, I just kind of gave up. It was too hard. I was like, whatever. I'll like worry about.
It has become a lot more
later.
accessible and a lot easier to follow.
Exactly.
I'll give it that for sure.
Like the world has gotten smaller.
Yeah.
Where you can follow like some of these guys who are doing builds like in Europe or in Japan on stuff that like you can't otherwise find, and like they can find the parts easier. Let's say, whereas like a Euro spec car that we never.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like seeing all this stuff from like Australia and New Zealand. A lot of like
those guys are crazy.
Those guys are nuts, and a lot of like rotary guys down there too. And it's like, holy crap! Like seeing like some of the stuff coming out of there. Like I know Australia is kind of weird with like regulations and stuff like that, but like you still see a lot of cool stuff coming out of there, and being able to just sit in my house in Appleton, Wisconsin, and be able to watch that on a daily basis just blows my mind.
It's crazy. So, where do you think we're gonna be in 5 or 10 years? The car scene.
I think we're. It's all speculation, right? No one really knows.
This is the fun part.
And it's like, in my eyes, it's like I think we're at like that crossroads right now. I think, in the last however many years, EVs have just been like a pipe dream for a lot of automotive manufacturers. It was like, like EVs will never do it. No, it happened, never happened, never happened. Then Elon Musk was like, no, it's gonna fucking happen, and I'm gonna do it, and I did it well. And now everyone's like, oh my God, it worked. He cracked the code. We need to catch up because it's going. It's gone. We're falling behind. Ford's just like, we're not making any more cars anymore. Everything's electric. I think Chevy's close behind. Dodge even, I think, which I was really surprised. They were like,
when they were like, oh yeah, no more Chargers and Challengers. I was like, wait, I thought you were printing money with
like,
these.
Did you talk to Vin Diesel first?
Did you see a parking lot of like a college campus?
Yeah, did you like go talk to Vin Diesel about this before you made this decision? Because I bet he has some pretty choice words about that. But no, it's like, I think EVs, we're gonna see a ton more of that. You're still gonna see people modifying the absolute shit out of them.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
taking those drivetrains and putting them into other things that didn't have those drivetrains.
Exactly. I mean, I think that we're going to modify everything and anything that we can get our hands on. the only other thing that might come down the line is that, start getting regulations put on things.
I
And,
know that's the big bogey out there.
Yeah.
Like regulations of we're pretty lucky in Wisconsin where we're at here.
yeah,
being,
it's really
somewhat
pretty
lax.
open. It's pretty lax. Like I don't have to get emissions tested.
Yeah.
I don't have to, thank God. Like none of my cars would pass that. But there is a lot of things out there. It's like you look at people modifying their cars, like, oh no, I can't do that. Or I have to go pass emissions, or I have to keep this on me just to
or game the emissions.
Yeah, you gotta, and it's kind of crazy, and you only see news of that just getting more and more aggressive and getting out to more places.
But
so.
I think cars are a cool outlet though for people to rebel in a way.
Oh, yeah.
In California,
and it's always
people. Yeah,
it's always kind of been that way.
I know. It's like a way to kind of rebel without being like violent
Yeah.
in a way. I mean, there's that side of it too, but it'll be interesting to see because we've seen some of the cars when we were younger that were cheap, but they're now really not cheap.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years where those become classics and do these JDM legends just become absolute unobtainium?
Yeah, do they become like the old muscle cars that are going at these crazy auctions? And they already are in a sense, like you said, but yeah, it's.
But the muscle cars, that's actually an interesting point. I love classic muscle cars, and the prices on those, I'm starting to see them come down.
Yeah.
Where what's available, because the generation that really loved those, that was their dream cars when they were kids, they're kind of getting old. Let's be real. And some of them are dying. So it's
just the want for it isn't there as much as it used to be.
I've seen where before it was the sought after, this is a 1 of 400 car with factory AC and a manual. All of this stuff is now people don't really care. And they're it's got a big block. That's the cool part about it. Yeah. And there's the not a rare, they don't care about the paint code or whatever. Yeah. And
people are oh, Supra, is it 2J turbo? Is it manual? Cool, I want it. And I'll pay $100,000 for it.
But an old, Charger, for instance, they're not cheap, but the prices aren't still going through the roof they used to be.
They're coming down.
So I think those, maybe those become a point where they're cheaper and people start doing some more resto mods. So that was a trend, kind of stopped. Yep. That might come back, drive the price of those up. As those go up, maybe some of the JDM stuff comes down. But it's
going to be a balancing act throughout the whole.
What comes out new? Yeah. That's the other thing. Is what new stuff is going to come out?
And like I said, I think it's all speculation. No one really knows. I think that social media still going to continue to dominate. I don't see that slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to be bringing our builds, we're going to be bringing our cars, opinions, everything to the front of social media. We're going to continue to see that grow. We're going to continue to see a heavy impact of that within the car scene itself, whether good or bad. And I think it's not going to stop anytime soon. And I think we're going to continue to see a flip and flop of these are expensive, now they're coming down, and it all depends too. It's what are the rules going to be? What's the laws going to be? What are auto manufacturers going to be putting out there? Are they going to actually limit you from modifying your vehicle? What is actually going to happen? And it's just a huge game of what ifs. But for certain, I can absolutely tell you that social media is going to have a massive impact moving forward for the car scene.
Yeah, I think with the EV part of things too, people are going to find out how to do cool stuff, and they'll be able to share it through social media fast.
Absolutely.
The way that we've been able to share information is crazy.
Yeah.
Where Blitz 03s wouldn't be as popular as they are, or sought after as if it wasn't for social media. And for all of that being
5 years ago, no one had any fucking idea what those wheels were, and now they're $10,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
But it'll be cool to see where it goes, and obviously to see how we evolve as a brand, and it's just exciting to see that. For EVs, we already have a number of, they're bumping in there. We're almost done.
Come 5 minutes. Oh, this is just our outro song. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who was it?
It's Junior.
Oh. Of course, it's fucking Junior. I swear I didn't know. Yeah.
So,
all in all,
it'll be really interesting. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. The thing that I'll be honest, I'm a little worried about is some of these cars that I really like becoming so expensive and the parts becoming so hard. We're like I'd love to be able to drift an R34, but like it just ain't gonna happen. Is where things are going.
Yeah. So I mean, end this on a positive note. What's one thing that you're looking forward to, like in the next few years for cars?
I'm genuinely looking forward to what EVs are gonna bring as far as styling. The Prius, when that came out, that was like this hybrid thing, and it looked so weird, and it still kind of looks weird. And EVs, when they came out, it's like, this is an EV, it's got to look weird. And we're starting to see things happen where it's like...
kind of mellow out.
They're mellowing out or looking
doesn't need
cool.
to be as futuristic,
well,
right?
You don't have this giant, hot piece of metal in the front of the car. Like, we can design different things around. Like, we have constraints with motors and batteries. But, like, the new Ford Lightning, for instance, that's a truck, but, like... different design elements they can do to like make things like really cool. I'm genuinely excited to see what that does to break the mold of what we thought was possible with styling and make things really cool. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to like kind of like the off meta builds that have already started to come out a little bit. We've started to see some people. It's like, okay, yeah, I can't go buy that FD RX-7. I'm gonna go buy an RX-8. Literally, what I did.
Yeah,
I was like,
true.
I want to experience a rotary platform, but I don't want to drop like 30 grand on a freaking engine I know nothing about and possibly have it break, and then I'm out 30 grand on a 30-year-old car.
Yeah.
Like that is the last thing I want to happen. I was like, I'm gonna go pick up an RX-8, and I've absolutely loved it. I've loved building it. I've loved seeing like the response from the community. People like, yo, like you've inspired me to go build or like buy an RX-8. Like, you have any tips for me? Like, I get messages like that all the time, and I love it. Yeah. And like just there's so many cases of that like that I see happening where people are like K cars and K trucks. People are just picking up these like
start importing some of that stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I've already been seeing a ton of it. You know, like all these like off meta builds that people are like, I can't get this, unfortunately, but I'm gonna still make the most of it. I'm gonna go build this, and it's opened up this whole other like can of worms of some really cool stuff, and that's what I'm really looking forward to.
What I'm kind of excited for too is like, I'm already old, but like getting even older. When like I remember as a kid going to shows and there'd be like an old guy and he'd be like next to a Chevelle or his Nova or whatever, and it's like it kind of blows my mind that at some point though, like I could be that like white-haired dude just sitting in my
sitting next to your Skyline.
It's like this is like crazy, but but being at that classic car show, like being old, but seeing what the kids are doing, like then with like the EVs that are probably going to have like a 2-second 0 to 60 time, or like something crazy like that, where performance is going to be mind-blowing.
It's going to be insane.
It's going to happen. It's going to be fun. It's just going to be so cool.
This was a fun one. I like this one a lot. I think
this was a long one.
I think it's probably our longest
Josh,
episode.
for time.
A little over an hour.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I think it was really good conversation. I think we brought up some good points. I'd love to know all your guys' thoughts down below. Like, did we hit the mark? Like, what are you guys thinking? Are you guys excited? Are you guys a little concerned?
What
like,
do you agree, disagree with? We'd love to have the debate.
Yeah, I'd love to have the debate. I'd love to have the conversation, because really that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about things and just really what's going on. But I really enjoyed this one. Thank you guys so much for listening, hopping in, keeping up to date with everything Anovia. Again, this has been Between the Spokes, Anovia Wheels Podcast. I'm Gels.
I'm Sam.
If you need some wheels, check out AnoviaWheels.com. We got it all. Wheels, tires, suspension, baby. We'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.